how I ruined my ex's life and ensured it stayed that way 20 years later. Back in the 90s, I was a college student when I met Jake. He was 23 and gearing up for a PhD program on the other side of the country, while I coincidentally planned to move near that same area. We clicked instantly, falling in love and believing fate had brought us together. Jake's family was incredibly welcoming. His two sisters and younger brother treated me like family, and I grew close to them quickly. During Jake's PhD program, I often visited him. He shared a house with 2 roommates and had a hobby breeding exotic animals tied to his studies. Immersed in his world, I also befriended Mary, the wife of Jake's academic advisor. Mary became a supportive mentor, always offering encouragement and advice. 2 years into our relationship, Jake blindsided me with a criticism. He claimed I'd gained too much weight, making it difficult for him to feel attracted to me. In reality, I had gained less than 10 pounds and still fit into all my clothes. Calmly, I asked him what he thought we should do about it, but he had no real solution, shifting the blame to me and insisting it was my problem to fix. I stood my ground, telling him this was his issue, not mine. A few months later, Jake broke up with me. His excuse? I wasn't scientifically minded enough to keep up with him. Sensing this was a lie, I pressed for the truth. That's when he admitted he had been cheating on me with a 19-year-old undergrad named Meg. Though the betrayal stung deeply, I refused to wallow in self-pity. Instead, I channeled my emotions into action, determined to regain control. First, I reached out to Jake's roommates, who admitted they were aware of his affair and had been encouraging him to come clean. One of them, George, offered to help me gather my belongings from Jake's house. When I arrived, I couldn't help but notice his exotic animal collection. Some of the creatures were being kept in clearly illegal conditions. Quietly, I took photos as evidence. Later that evening, George and I went out for drinks. When we returned, we staged a scene designed to make Jake jealous. We made sure both he and Meg saw us acting cozy with one another. George, fully committed to the plan, walked around the house in just his boxers and gave me a staged goodnight kiss right in front of them. Jake's face burned with anger, but I played it cool, ignoring him entirely. The next morning, as I was leaving, I couldn't resist a parting shot. Have fun with the leftovers. The day after, I reported Jake's illegal animal collection to state wildlife authorities. George and another roommate also filed a report with the university, highlighting Jake's unethical relationship with Meg, which breached institutional policies. From that point on, Jake's seemingly perfect life began to fall apart. State authorities confiscated Jake's animals, citing overcrowding and illegal practices. He was slapped with a $15,000 fine, and one of his rare species was relocated to a conservation center. On top of that, Jake lost a significant $30,000 federal research grant, which effectively brought his academic career to an abrupt end. The university wasted no time either. Jake's scholarship was revoked, and he lost his position as a teaching assistant. While he wasn't expelled, his academic standing was beyond repair. Instead of completing his PhD, he was left with only a master's degree. His family later revealed that his father had to financially support him to finish his studies. As for me, I moved forward with my life. I earned a master's degree and built a successful career helping scientists and doctors communicate complex concepts to the public. Jake, however, married Meg, and they had 2 children. He ended up working as an animal breeder, while Meg eventually transitioned into a career as an accountant. Fast forward 20 years and our paths crossed again. I was delivering a lecture at a university when Jake appeared in the audience. Afterward, he approached me, but I pretended not to recognize him. During a casual dinner with faculty, I found out he was interviewing for a teaching position at the university. I subtly mentioned his troubled past to a colleague. A few weeks later, I received word from Mary that Jake's previous misconduct had been flagged during the hiring process, and he didn't get the job. His chances of rebuilding his academic career were officially gone. This story serves as a reminder that justice has a way of catching up, even if it takes time. If someone wrongs you, it's okay to let go and move forward with dignity. However, if they cross a major line, there's nothing wrong with ensuring they face the consequences, legally and ethically, of course.
Thanks for tuning in. If you liked this video, consider subscribing.